there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving pieces that are going on when it comes to retirement. You've got your required distributions, which have changed over the last 5 years from 70.5 to 73. They're changing to 75. There are some years in there where they weren't required because everybody was sick. So F it. You don't need any money, apparently. We don't need to tax you on it. I don't know the logic behind that, but whatever. There used to be lots of tax bills associated with that. If you screwed it up, they went, we're just going to change that too. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the IRA world of you've saved money and now the IRS is saying you have deferred the taxes long enough. It is time for you to start paying income taxes. You don't have to consume the money. You don't have to, your required distribution this year is 10 grand. You don't have to go spend 10,000 in the economy, but we're going to tax you as if you earn 10,000 bucks and you're going to pay us that tax money. What you do with the money is up to you. So you've got that going on.
Well, hey there, Stackers. Welcome to a live recording of the Stacking Benjamin Show. It's Wednesday afternoon. That means you've got your favorite people here. We're going to have a bunch of fun, and we're going to be talking about the tips. All of these fine participants have brought some ideas for brand new people to the workplace. What are the things that you wish you knew when you were first in the workplace that would make you succeed? So please chat along with us. We'll come and say hello at the halfway point, which will be during our ruthless trivia competition.
Joe, I got nothing. You didn't tell me I'm not bringing any great tips to this discussion. You did not tell me that I had to come prepared with tips.
So different
let
than
alone
usual.
Great ones.
Way different than usual. OG, what do you got today?
Waterloo.
Oh, I've got Waterloo as well. My Waterloo comes in a nice way to
Paula always has to win. Paula always has to have like the best water.
I know.
It's San Pellegrino. It's good water, but it's,
That's
the best water is New York
right
City
there.
tap water.
Yeah.
Brought to you by
Fresh out of the
Extra fiber this year.
Extra fiber. And now with more rat poison.
Right.
It's Frigidaire filtered.
You'll meet all these fine people when we start up the show, which is going to be right now. Doug, you ready to go?
Okay.
It's like such a chore. Okay.
All
right, fine.
Rubber baby bubby bunkers. Rubby baby bubby bunkers.
Boy, don't mess that up.
I'm warmed up. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Live from the YouTube machine, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and as we finish out a summer of fun, lots of newly hired graduates are getting their fill of adulting. So we'll ask the question, what is our best advice for graduates who are new to the workplace? Heck, our older stackers might learn a little something too. We're joined today by a guy who's known the workplace for a long time. He's the host of the Firelighter podcast, Paul Lambert. Plus a woman who worked as a newspaper reporter. What's a newspaper again? Anyway, before she set up her own shop from Afford Anything, it's Paula Pant. And the guy who was working it even in elementary school, OG. But that's not all. We'll give you a breather halfway through this intense walk through better workplace skills so that you can all witness my amazing trivia question. And now a guy who is about to make YouTube his workplace this next hour, it's Joe Saul-Sehy.
That went a different way than I thought you were going, Doug. A guy who's about to make YouTube his, whoa.
Bro,
this is
what?
a family show.
I edited on the fly.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, everybody, happy Friday. Let me be the first to welcome you. We are so happy to be hanging out here on YouTube with some of our Stacker friends. And we've got a good one today. As summer ends, what are the things that we wish we knew when we started working? And you know what? Some of these are going to be saving tips. Maybe they're investing tips, and maybe they're just earning more money tips, maybe being a better worker bee in whatever organization that you're in. But first, we need to know who the heck is with us. And we'll start with the guy across the card table from me. Mr. OG is here. How are you, man?
Oh, just living the dream one day at a time.
It's fabulous. Just working for the weekend, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's working for the weekend. Paula Pant's working for the weekend from Afford Anything, aren't you?
What weekend? There's a weekend?
There's spoken like an entrepreneur,
every
Paula.
Day's a Saturday for Paula.
Yes.
Exactly. Every day's a Saturday and every day's a Wednesday.
That's what we talked about this on a recent episode, but it's funny how like we first moved to Texarkana and all of Cheryl's friends were like, so what does Joe do at home all day? He's a podcaster. Does that mean he sleeps?
No, it means he's got like a closet full of what, like 100 board games.
That's right. Not true. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, might be true. And our special guest today, our friend in College Station, Texas. He's the host of the Firelighter podcast, Paul Lambert, aka Lambo, is here. How are you, friend?
Hello, I'm doing as good as possible here in Central Texas, buddy.
I know it's like what 103 degrees here, and I think 120
probably. Yeah,
right, and about 120% humidity.
Whoa, that bird just fell over.
It's a common occurrence in Texas. It reminds me of that, Doug. What's that Nate Bargatze joke? That long piece where he's going to see Mount Rainier and they saw the dead horse.
Oh, the dead horse. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard that one. Paul, have you heard that one? Paul doesn't know who Nate Bargatze is.
Correct. I do not know.
You'd
who
like
he is.
him. You'd like
yes.
him, Paula. It's
just a long, just so everybody knows, it's just this long joke. He starts off by talking about what do you do if your horse dies? Like, you can't like get a new one that looks the same before your kids get home from school. So they don't even notice. You also can't pay your friend's pizza to help move the horse. And he goes through this whole thing. Well, they go up to Mount Rainier and they come back. Turns out Nate Bargatze learned that horses sleep laying down, and the horse was as alive as ever. And there was never a dead horse. Never once a dead horse. Paul is like,
have
you might
have you
might have had
tried
to be
beating
there.
the dead horse?
no.
Oh.
I think I'm doing
Horse,
it.
man.
I think I'm doing it with this story, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yes. That's a journalist way of saying, move on, Joe. All right, fine. Well, we got a great show today.
If you gave me that horse show, I would not look it in the mouth.
Oh my God.
Paula Pant,
what
ladies
is up?
and gentlemen.
What is
Showing up with the puns.
Tip your wait staff, folks. She
It's
is
unprecedented.
on fire. Must be. You got to go down to Caroline's and get yourself on stage, Paula.
No, what is that? A comedy club, an improv club?
And she ruined it.
One of us lives in Manhattan. One of us lives halfway across the country. Guess which one knew what Caroline's was? Yeah, it is a comedy club on Times Square.
Oh,
So very famous comedy club, except for Paula Pant, right?
Yeah. Not be
I
that
do
famous if
famous
Paula
things.
doesn't know about it.
That's right. You know another company, Paula, that's famous?
is it State Farm?
It is State Farm, and this episode is brought to you by State Farm. In the market for small business insurance, State Farm knows your business is your life. State Farm agents are small business owners too, so they know what it takes. They can help you create a personalized insurance plan that fits your small business needs and budget. Small business insurance from State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Talk to your local agent today. All right, we've got OG, we got Paula, we got Lambo here, we've got neighbor Doug. Let's get this party rolling. All right, again, the topic today, often when we have our Friday shows, we have some stuff from the internet, some writings that a blogger had. But you know what I was thinking? We're coming to the end of August, and all of these college graduates are hopefully either in the process of finding that first job. Maybe they recently found that first job. And I know there's things that I look back and I'm like, yeah, man, if I would have done that differently, things might have turned out way, way, way differently. And not that I'm complaining about where I'm at, but I could have probably gotten there a little quicker. So, Paul, let's start with you. What is some advice that you would have from your long career that may help somebody in their first job?
So this is probably not what.
Well,
you're
wait a
expecting.
minute. I love you, Paula Pant, but I was talking to Paul Lambert.
I'm sorry.
You better call
That's
me
fine.
Lambo today.
Oh,
I
this
know
is-
we do got to
You better
That's
call
call
gonna be
me
a
Lambo.
problem.
That's way too close.
Paul,
Paul.
Paul,
Yes,
what do you think? And they,
I could go ladies first, but I went our guest first. So,
yeah.
Lambo,
aside, Paula
yeah,
Pant.
Paula,
Okay,
back it down, Miss Afford Anything.
To Paul. To
Yes.
Paul.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I thought a little bit about this, but one of the biggest things, and looking back at my career, I've early retired, if you want to call it that, and when I was 56. But early in my career, I really wished I would have taken more risk. And when you don't have anything to lose, you have an opportunity, and sometimes the other, along with that comes being able to see opportunities. Windows open and shut all the time, and those windows don't stay open. If there's an opportunity, you either go through the window and take that jump and that risk and potentially reward, or you miss it. And sometimes they come again and sometimes they don't. But you guys have all heard stories of people that, wish they would have traveled Europe with their backpack and then they never got a chance to do it. Those kind of things are true in the workplace as well. And particularly if you have another language skill. If you're working in a global corporate organization, chances are there's standard systems, standard reporting. If you speak a language and you have operations in that same country or a country that speaks the same language, take that opportunity to go work in a foreign destination and build up your skill set. And you'll find frequently those people move from operation to operation. They come back when they're middle-aged, and they raise their family back in their home country, and they're in senior management. And I wonder how they got there. But a lot of them took those risks. And the one other thing I wanted to mention on this question is to build some mentors and advisors, even peers. Joe, I think you and OG worked together at one point, didn't you?
We did. Yes.
Yeah.
I was
The last
OG's
15
mentor.
freaking years.
I was OG's mentor
who's
for a long
counting?
time. OG
I
totally
don't-
looked up to me.
I don't know what that relationship was like, but perhaps
You've
he
seen-
was
you've-
a peer
you've
that
put-
gave you
you-
feedback.
You've put
from
oil
time
and
to
water in a jar before, right?
time. I can imagine.
You ever do the science experiment with pepper, and you take a bar of soap and you dunk it in the pepper? What happens in the water? Just wah!
There's Joe. Well, I kind of put this in two groups. I had some mentors that really were kind of career mentors, and then I had other mentors. There's two things. There's the technical aspects of a job, which you can learn pretty easily if you're motivated, and you're willing to just think about things and learn things, do the study you have to do. But then there's soft skills. A lot of us have soft skills that we don't know about that really aren't good for us.
It's funny they call the soft skills, but I think for a lot of people, those are the skills that wreck you. So I kind of think of them as the harder skills, because when people wreck their career, it's often not the technical knowledge that wrecks it. It's the fact they don't have any communication skills. They can't talk to boss. They can't talk to coworkers. They can't talk to the
Why are
customer.
you guys both looking at me when you say that?
I want to stop you right there for a second, Lambo, because there's a ton to unpack, and I want to bring in OG and Paula. Paula, let's go to you. Paula Pant. Let's go to you on this. I like what Lambo's saying about taking risk, because early in my career, I was, my first job, I was like, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to. And man, I should have been out there meeting as many people as I could, going and taking advantage of as many opportunities as I could. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I completely agree with that. I think taking risks, early and often, right? So start early in your career, but then that becomes a muscle that you will continue to flex throughout the rest of your life, right? Once you build that muscle, you will be primed to continue taking risks in your 30s, 40s, 50s, heck, 60s. Colonel Sanders was 62 when he franchised KFC.
It's funny, Paula, when you say that you normalize taking risk and you get comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy that I worked with in college. I worked for the Michigan State Development Fund, raising money for the university. So we were those annoying people who would call alumni and ask them to give money. And we had a guy named Mark Brower. Mark was the best student of all of us. And on our screen, it would tell you how much money to ask the alumni for. And it would say $100, $250, $500, or $1,000 at the time was this monster pledge, right? That it was a lot of cash. Mark Brower, Paula, would ask everybody for $1,000. He would ask every single person for $1,000. And it wasn't that he thought that he could get it from every alumni, because certainly that's still a lot of money today to get somebody to donate. But when a true $1,000 donor came along, he wasn't nervous. He wasn't worried about it. He was so conditioned to taking that risk, and it didn't feel like a big number because he did that with everybody. And he's like, then you know what? I trusted that I could back down from everybody. And it's funny because you can always back stuff down, but you can't go up further. You set your own ceiling, Paula.
Right. So he basically anchored high. He anchored at the aspiration point.
It was
And
amazing.
then, that I love that. That makes a ton of sense. So to add to that, this is, I think, a related concept, but it's a cousin concept. The advice that I would give is not to overly focus on saving money. Because particularly, throughout your career, but particularly at the beginning of your career, you have so much opportunity to try to make more money, whether that's by moving to a different employer or by shifting or pivoting what it is that you do precisely, or, I ran so when I started working, I made my full-time salary. This was in December 2005 was when I took the job, my first full-time job. My salary at the time was $21,000 a year. And so I just ran that through the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov. They have a CPI inflation calculator. That's the equivalent today of $33,500. So I was making today's equivalent of $33,500. And I was focused on how much can I save? How much can I save? How much can I save? Man, if you're early in your career and likely you're not making that much, you might only be making $33,000 today. Don't focus on saving $3,000, and patting yourself on the back about your nearly 10% savings rate. Like, focus on taking your salary from 33,000 up to 43,000 or up to 53,000.
I agree with that as a focus, but don't you think there's also power we just talked about this on Wednesday's show. There's power in building that muscle early, though, of getting that automatic savings flex started. Like, just get used to it.
When it comes to, I have two answers to this. When it comes to making sure that some amount, that automation is set up so that there's some small amount that's going into your 401k, I would agree with that there. But when it comes to all of the skimping that you have to do in your day-to-day life, going to the grocery store and picking up the carton of orange juice and putting it in your cart, and then walking a few feet and realizing I can't pay for this right now, and putting the carton of orange juice back, like that skimping and that feeling of deprivation can often make the pendulum swing too far in the other direction later in life.
Spend your mind space on growth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. OG, this idea that Lambo brought up about mentorship, also a big one. I wish I would have realized how comfortable people would have been mentoring me at an early age. How about you?
That's interesting. I was thinking about that in the context of the exact opposite of having not necessarily not having a mentor, but recognizing the correct one and the incorrect one. I think that in my earlier career, I had one that was great for that period of time. And then later on in my career, kind of circled back to that same relationship, and it was not what I needed.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I also recognized, partnerships and things like that I had earlier in my career. Thankfully, kind of figured out pretty quickly that was kind of a different path than wasn't, than what I thought I wanted to do. It was just kind of, oh, you're going that direction, and it's not for me. I'm going to go this direction instead. And that, that can cause a lot of ripples in the universe also. So I think having somebody who is far enough ahead, I think when it comes to people around you, you want to have people that are pulling you with them, and people that you're pulling with you. And when we get older, and my wife and I talk about this a little bit, because we have like two different groups of friends. We were at the opening kind of school party, hey, back to school, everybody's back to school. We were talking with a family, and they're like, wow, can you believe the boys are, seniors, they're going to be going to college. This is so crazy. I can't believe we're going to be empty nesters. And then the woman kind of stops. She goes, well, I mean, we're going to be empty nesters. You guys have some time yet. How William's sophomore? And we're like, well, yeah, Caroline. They're like, oh, yeah. Okay, well, good luck with that. It was like this weird. It was like
not in the club.
Yeah, we were part of the club for a minute, and then it was like, oh yeah, you're not in the club, right? But they're we're the young parents in that group, and then the other group with Caroline, our daughter, who's a third grade, we're like the old parents. Like, how do you guys manage 3 kids? Oh my god, you're like, man. That one drives that one to wherever they got to go, and this one we feed, and it's like, it's just a weird thing. And I think it's important to, as you're going through whether it's work career or personal life, it's always good to have somebody that's kind of just ahead of you, that's maybe accomplished the things that you kind of envision accomplishing, or at least can prove to be a good director, or, hey, I've been down this path once or twice. This is what worked for me or not. And then also, I think it's our responsibility to find people that are behind us that want to go the direction we're going, and go, let me show you the way. Let me tell you what I did that's based on what he or she did. Just kind of always make sure you have people behind you and people in front of you. If you don't, you end up with like a bunch of, 65-year-old friends at one time. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, like all your friends are 65, and you're like, wait, I need to have some 45-year-old friends too, because I want to do the things that they're doing. I mean, that's basically my role in this whole thing with all you old guys, is like, I'm the young guy.
Oh my God.
That you guys are all, aspirationally looking back toward, going, oh my gosh, remember when we had the looks and the hair and the prowess of
OG
that,
and the false sense of confidence
right there. Yeah. The overconfidence.
Yeah. If I could have the misplaced confidence of an OG again, like I used to.
That was great. Remember that 10 years ago? Those were the
back
days.
when you were mentoring.
Yeah. That is important. And I've stepped in that before, where when I was young, I thought that I looked up to the older people that I worked with so much that I didn't really become friends with them. And I had this invisible wall, and it wasn't their wall, OG, it was my wall. It was because I don't know, it was the inadequacy you feel between your ears, and I totally needed to get closer to.
I think it's really funny when we, again, Liz and I were talking about this with kind of the relationship of where we are and in our careers and in life and that sort of thing, and just kind of the interesting shift of time. Like we're older now than her parents were when we first met. It's like, wait, hold on. I knew her parents when I was when they were 5 years younger than I am today. Like, holy crap. Like, it's just weird to think about this kind of evolution of time, and you're just kind of with the same people. But I think you have to make a conscious effort to go, look beyond where you are to have some aspiration, but then also to look behind you and be a mentor or a guide for those people that are on their way still. Thanks.
Lambo, in your career before you retired, what did you do?
Primarily operational finance. I was a CPA. Still, I've retired status now, but my entire career, I started in public accounting and then jumped into a medical device business for a dozen years in the financial areas. I like what OG said earlier about lifting the people up. I had a really tough boss. He was a Naval Academy graduate, the VP of finance, and he put me in these different roles. Some of them I didn't necessarily want to do, but he really convinced me I needed to do them. But he was basically giving me opportunities to get the bandwidth in different roles to move up in the organization. Because, when look around, the baby boomers are all aging out of some great jobs. And I had a boss later in the oil and gas business. And he says, he was the corporate controller. And he says, Lambo, he says, we just need to stay in our roles because we don't have to take a bad job. These baby boomers going to retire, and there's going to be great jobs out there. So you don't settle. And then I mentioned opportunities. I had the corporate controller at a larger company that bought us bring me in, and he said, I want to create this assistant corporate controller role. And I gave it a little thought, and I said, I don't think so. Well, I didn't realize he was retiring in 2 years, and he was giving me a great opportunity. Yeah.
Missed it.
It's like, yeah. And anyway, but I worked in operational finance and also business strategy and business applications, rolled out global ERP solutions. I did some things late in my career that were really the most fun in my entire career. And they were not in the accounting organization. When you walk away from monthly and quarterly deadlines and compliance, I was director of Sarbanes-Oxley and internal audit at a corporate public company level. That ain't fun. That ain't fun.
Oh, I thought that had fun written all over it.
So
it sounded amazing.
Yeah, but I can trust me. When you're walking on a sand dune in Saudi Arabia, looking at a new plant site, it's a lot more fun. It's just a lot more fun.
It is interesting when you talk about, not seeing exactly what the opportunity is. The number one financial planner at American Express when I was there told me he's going to bring me into my organization or into his organization. I was going to get to learn from him, and I was going to take a pay cut to do that. And he told me point blank, he said, I know the recipe. And I told him, because I was young and cocky and stupid, I said, half the fun is coming up with the recipe. And I think I can make my own recipe. So no, thank you. And that was the dumbest thing. It was just dumbest.
All right. See you later.
Yeah.
Best wishes.
It was so dumb. Had I gone to work for that guy for a couple of years, it would have been amazing.
Little Forrest Gump. And then we don't have to worry about money no more.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
I will say, Joe, I took 2 double-digit pay cuts in my career. I never was without a job, but when you're bought out and you're at a corporate level, you're redundant, just like that, right? So I stayed on with an organization, it took me 5 years to get back up to a vice president level. But it was when my kids were all in middle school and high school. And the last thing I wanted to do was pull them all out and move somewhere. And so for me, that was a life decision my wife and I made. But it was easy to make. It was an easy decision. And it turned out to work out fine. And the other one was when I moved from Houston to College Station to a small pre-IPO biotech right about the .com bust. And, I didn't get rich, but I did get to College Station. So it got me out of the Houston traffic, and that was worth an awful lot. And it was a great place to raise the family.
Well, and that is interesting. You've got this thing when you're a parent, you talk about taking risks. What if the risk isn't just you? What if it's the family where you take that risk? And we did that, but when my kids were between 8th grade and high school, it ended up working out great. It's like just another life lesson. I want to dive into more in the second half of this because hopefully if we've got new graduates out there, this is a wealth of knowledge. But at the halfway point of every Friday show, we have a trivia contest between our 3 contributors, Paula Pant, OG, and Lambo. Today you're playing for Mom because Mom doesn't do stairs. She has no interest in answering trivia questions. So you get to play for Mom today, which means, Lambo, you've got some good news and some bad news.
And what's the good news?
The good news is you're not last place. You are tied for last. You are tied for last with the Paula Pant, who a couple of weeks ago won 2 in a row, which I don't think has happened in the history of trivia. OG, though, took back the ring last week. So, Paula, unfortunately, you had that 2-game win streak interrupted. But can Paula get back to her winning ways? Can Lambo win for Mom? Can OG continue to pull ahead? Well, we need a trivia question. And guess who's got that? Neighbor Doug does. Doug, what do we got, man? And Doug's on mute.
Oh, you ruined it. We should have just let him go the whole time. Great.
Is that fun for you guys? Did you enjoy that?
Hey there, stackers.
See how it's going to be. Okay, we'll try it again. 3, 2, 1. Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and on today's date in 1973, a botched bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden resulted in a hostage situation where the captives formed a weird bond with their captors, giving rise to the phrase Stockholm Syndrome. Wait a minute. It sounds weirdly like what's happening here in Mom's basement with Joe and OG. Am I finding myself liking these guys? Huh. I mean, they took the lock off the door to the basement like 12 years ago, and I'm still here. Why is that? Anyway, this got me thinking about bank robbers. And of course, the ones who came through the Texarkana area were none other than the media darlings, Bonnie and Clyde. Because it was the Great Depression, many people cheered on the burglars, even though they were truly ruthless outlaws. Here's today's question. What's the most money Bonnie and Clyde ever stole from a single institution? I'll be back. Yeah. I'll be back right after I check to see if the cookie jar is unlocked upstairs. I haven't been up there in years.
Or at least minutes. Yeah. OG, Bonnie and Clyde across Texas. They stole some money from a bank in Grapevine, not far from where you live.
Huh. Yeah, I am woefully inadequate in my Bonnie and Clyde pop knowledge.
I know. You've got Bonnie and Clyde posters all over your room.
Don't. But why do I want to put these guys with the same group as Thelma and Louise? Is that a similar?
I think Thelma and Louise kind of had movie? A Bonnie and Clyde vibe.
Okay. All right. I don't know that I ever watched the movie, but it's kind of.
I think one was
tomatoes.
I was just say one was
together.
One was one was real life. The other one was pure fiction.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously one was a movie, but okay. So, it's basically implying that they're stealing from banks. Is that safe to say? Is that what we're?
Yes.
It's an institution.
Yes.
Money is surprisingly hard to carry. You know, it's like when they show in the movies when they're like, we just stole $85 million from the bank, the vault at the, no, you didn't. Like that would take like 5 dump trucks and, 75 hours of manpower to like move that. So I remember seeing a pallet of money when I worked at a bank, like a pallet of hundreds, and it was like 200,000 maybe or something. It was so much money, but so little money in the grand scheme of things. And thinking like nobody could take that. Like that would take 100 people to carry that out of here. So I'm going to say it's a lot lower than what we might think here. Plus it's depression, not carrying a lot of this, inflation. Paula's got to get her reverse BLS calculator out. So
right now I got the BS calculator going.
I knew that was coming. Good job. Yeah, you took the joke that everybody knew was there.
You're welcome.
1 point. I had in my mind 34,000, but I think that's way too much. So I'm going to say $3,400.
30. Wow. From 34,000 to 3,400. Lambo, what are you going to do with that?
I want to go after Paula, if that's okay.
Well, you can't.
No.
Oh, man.
Who is this guy?
I love that. I'll pass until next round, Bill.
I wrote down 2 numbers, but freaking OG split my numbers. I'm going to go with 1,250.
1,250. You went lower. Why'd you go lower?
Well, I was thinking 5,000, but I didn't want OG to get under me.
All right.
Oh God, yeah, you really.
Nickel for every time somebody said that.
So
Why? Dude, you cannot tee it up like that, Lambo.
You know Paula's going to go $1 over OG.
All right, Paula.
OG is a bottom.
Paula's turn on the live podcast.
Well, OG, what was your guess? What was that number? 3,000 something?
I said 3,400.
3,400. All right. Well, Lambo guessed it. I am going 3,401 cent.
There is how
I don't even get the dollar. I don't even get 50 cents of my number.
I know her ways.
no breathing room for OG's like the sandwich now. Yes. All right, we've got $3,400, 3,401 cent, and 1,250. Let's see who's right. How far away are they? Bonnie and Clyde trivia. We'll be right back with the answer. Let's say hello to everybody hanging out with us. We've got who's here? Wise E. Tim is here. Hey, John is here. Lambo, John says great nickname and great advice. And Mindy Jensen's here, and she's just quoting stuff that we said, which is it is so funny because it's Leonidas reviews, but of course, being from Southwest Michigan, you guys know I always want to call it Leonidas reviews. What's Paula going to project on her green screen?
Ooh.
Which
Wearing a green screen. Wearing a green screen.
you could put like an Afford Anything logo, like right there.
It's funny. I've got one here, so I guess you would just be like duplicating the background.
You have another one, yeah. So is that Rent the Runway stuff, Paula?
No, this is I bought this like a long time ago, and I try not to wear it when I'm recording because,
It's green.
obviously I'm essentially just wearing a giant green screen at this point.
Right.
But here I am. Here I am wearing a green screen. I generally avoid it on recording days, but today was an exception.
That would make, if she was in that technical environment, it would make Paula truly a talking head.
It would be.
Because it would be just her head, like floating on whatever background it was.
I'm with you, Doug, 100%.
Catherine hanging out with us. Hey, Catherine, glad you're here. Catherine, who was in our book club. And Okie Stu, morning from Okinawa. We've got Stu in Okinawa. Glad you're here with us, Stu. Thanks for joining us.
What is it, like 5:45 there?
If you're in the military over there, thanks for your service. Great stuff, guys. We're worldwide, Lambo. We're worldwide.
Global, baby.
Yes.
Global domination.
All right.
Prestige worldwide.
Guys, thanks for hanging out. We'll do the second half of the show now. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right. OG, you kicked it off with $3,500. What do you think? You got sandwiched.
I said 3,400.
3,400.
He did.
But I do like the OG sandwich. So
Double stuff, baby.
hashtag goals.
Lambo, you went to 1,250. You're like the outlier because Paula's right there where OG is. You feeling confident?
I got mom, man. I got mom. She's ready to win.
Well, we will see. Paula, feeling good?
I mean, I've captured the upside, so there's a lot of space.
And it is a bank. These are banks. What's the most money? Heck, they're banks.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But then again, Paula, we've said how many times, what could go wrong when Paula chooses trivia? Who knows?
Yeah. Watch, they'll have taken half a cent.
Let's see if Paula gets back to her winning ways. Doug, what do we got?
Hey there, stackers. I'm Stacking Benjamin's bringer of fun and voluntary hostage here in the basement. Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. Thank God OG took the ball out of my mouth so I could read you the answer. Today's question was, how much money did Bonnie and Clyde steal at most from a single institution? Well, Paula was over by $1,900.01. OG was over by a clean even $1,900. Lambo/mom was under by $250 because the correct answer is an astonishingly low $1,500, making our guest today's winner.
Yeah, baby.
Lambo bringing it home for mom. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It's great.
It is fabulous. Given you and Paula got to give OG a run for his money into the fall, and now it's 12 to 9 to 8. But Paula, you got to be feeling more comfortable now. This is a good spot for you.
Firmly last place, as I typically rank.
But you know what? We'll have you go first in the second half of the show, which, Paula, is brought to you by depositaccounts.com. Huh? Like that segue? Depositaccounts.com. When you go to depositaccounts.com, you find out that brick and mortar bank probably not treating you right. Looking at you, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. The average savings account in America pays 0.51, and both of those institutions paying far south of that. But at deposit accounts, and I just went there while I was talking, they show you the top 1% average in savings accounts, CDs, checking, and money markets. Savings accounts this week, slightly higher than when we talked about it last week, 4.93%, still flirting with 5%. But that's hundreds of banks in that top 1%, 4.93. You click that button, it'll tell you what those banks are. Compare more than 275,000 deposit rates from over 11,000 banks and credit unions. Do it for free at depositaccounts.com. Get that high yield savings account that you need to keep up with inflation. All right. Or keep close to inflation anyway. Paula, let's go to you. Advice you wish you had right out of college, starting your first job.
You know, I would have liked to have had some more instruction on the subtleties and nuances of office speak and office culture. Because there's a certain politics involved, and there's a certain there's certain I don't even know how to say it. There are certain subtleties that take place in the workplace that you don't really encounter anywhere else.
Like we had to teach Doug, wear pants.
Yeah.
Subtlety. It's not written down anywhere. It's not in the guidebook. It's just assumed that you'd come to work fully dressed.
Thought this was a casual work environment.
Well, I mean, technically his camera right now is only showing him from the waist up.
So who knows? Who knows?
Thank God.
Wild and free.
That is difficult. What's interesting, Paula, is that it's a subtle line though, right? Like from where I always sat when I got better at it. And to your point, I didn't know any of that. I just thought work hard, keep your head down. Right. I needed to actually learn to be better friends with my boss. because there is such a thing as your boss liking you or not liking you, and just working hard for the vast majority of bosses is not enough. You at least have to have a relationship with your boss. And I had this work hard and that was it. But on the other side, later in my career, when I knew, Paula, what was going on, those people that were spent all day sucking up to the boss and never freaking did anything, like their careers also went nowhere.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You got to do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't be there's all substance, no style. There's all style, no substance.
Yeah.
You know, you need a blend of the two.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting about that though, Paula, too, is learning the rhythm of the office. I would encourage people then to go out with your coworkers, like after work, spend time socializing with your coworkers a little, just so you understand the people that you're working with.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But there's a certain, like, who do you CC on an email? There's a certain level of politics even to that. Like who gets CC'd and when and why and who those were the subtleties of the workplace that as a newbie, I found it quite difficult to learn.
Well, there were some other things too, which were when do you put it in writing by writing an email? And when do you not put it in writing and just go talk to somebody? Because there were a couple times I wrote an email and then that ended up looking like a bigger deal than I wanted the thing to be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Doug?
Paul, I'm really glad you bringing up this this whole topic about the subtleties of workplace politics. That's something it takes. Some people never get it. Some people, it takes 10 or 12 years, but if you can start, and they're different at every work environment, right? It's set by the culture in your company and by individual leaders. I remember key learning I had was that the decisions almost never get made in the meeting room, in the conference room. The decisions happen in the hallway by key individuals, and you go to the meeting room to sort of publicize and get everybody to nod their heads about the decision that already got made. It doesn't get phrased that way when you're in the room. When you're in the room, it sounds like, oh yeah, we're here to talk about this thing and see, but if there's 3 or 4 people who have already helped make that decision, they're going to steer that conversation to support the decision they already made. And so the more you know that, you got to figure out, how do I get in on those hallway discussions and hallway decision making before, because if you just walk into the room cold, you are never going to be in that inner circle.
Yeah. And I think it gets even harder now when there are like hybrid work environments, and there's some people who are working fully remote, and there's some people who are partially remote but partially in person. It's like, wow, what a mess.
Again, the biggest mistake that I see, Doug, and I'm glad you brought that up, is people that isolate themselves when they're brand new. They show up at work, they go home, and they're like, well, this is just my job. And you're brand new at the company. You know nobody. You show up, you do your job, you go home. Biggest mistake you could make was all that. I mean, just purely based on what you just said about the hallway. Let's dive into another one. OG, what do you got?
I spilled my tea.
I don't know what
I think happened. Paul thinks that because he turned his camera off, it muted everything.
It looked like you were going to say something else there, Doug. I was just.
Oh shit!
Awesome.
Well, your microphone's still on.
I was going to say, now everybody just wants to be quiet and listen to what's going on.
Hold on, we just have to mute. Lambo, your microphone's still hot.
No, don't tell him. You were going to tell me when my mic was not hot.
How do we just mute him?
I'm turning my headphones up.
Yes, absolutely. I'll never forget, talk about like sort of workplace politics. There was a partner at a large accounting firm that I was part of, who super senior, been around forever, and great guy. But one day we're on a call. He was, I think, driving between offices, and you just hear. It was one of those days where it's sort of like late winter. It's cold outside, but the sun's shining into your car and it's all warm and cozy in there. And he just fell asleep in his car. We all laughed. We couldn't get him to, mute. We didn't know how to mute him remotely. And we finally just had to talk around his snoring.
Rocky Mark Troutman hanging out with us, live stream at his finest. Yeah. Stacy, way to go, Lambo.
Hey, I never moved.
It is.
He still doesn't know.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mute my mic.
No, he does now.
I had one click in me. And I was moving fast.
That's fabulous. All right, let's get back at it. Where was I? OG. 3, 2, 1. OG, help out our newest workers.
I looked at this all from a money perspective. I don't know if that was the assignment or not, but
it's weird. The CFP would do it that way. That's strange.
Yeah, my bad. And I think of a couple of them, and I think this is just from personal experience. When you have the opportunity to transition from, whether it's a role that pays $30,000 a year to one that pays 60, or you're going from 0 to 30 or 0 to 80 or whatever, like wherever that initial kind of big change happens, if you can just do 1 year of flatlining where you were before you adjust your living expenses. So you think about like the slope of what's going to happen throughout your life, right? So you're going to, get a job, you're going to make money, and then you're going to make a little bit more money and have a little bit higher expenses, make money, have a little bit higher expenses. You get that proverbial lifestyle creep. If you can just wait 1 year before you start the lifestyle creep so that you get that little gap between where I'm going to increase it to and where my income is, the way that slope works over 30 years is you end up way, way, way behind the spend of what your income is. If day one, you go from making nothing in college to your $50,000 a year job, and you figure out a way to spend exactly $50,000, you're going to live like that for a long, 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 long time, because 50 and 60 and 70 and 80, it's just not what it used to be. And, while that's definitely a lot of money, it's not like life altering set for life money. Right. So not until you are in the high hundreds, 200, 300, where you get to like I think where it's like, oh, look at all the potential breathing room. But the problem is, so we all know people who are like been doing that their whole life. They were right up their lips above water at 50,000. And now they make 150 and their lips are still just above the water. And you're like, how is that possible? You make $100,000 more than you did day one. Well, it's because you never gave yourself the buffer. So whenever you have the big increase, where there's nothing to college, or you're in, your first job, you're changing companies and you have a big salary increase or big bonus, just keep everything the same. And then feel free to like make small adjustments to your lifestyle from that point forward, because it kind of dovetails into my second one. You're trying to avoid the big mistake. If you can get through your 20s without material amounts of consumer debt, whether it's cars or student loans or credit cards, you are so far ahead. Paula said this at the beginning, not to worry so much about saving money. And I think a lot of times we see the Instagram, or we see the Reddits or the Facebooks or podcasts of everything being done, right? Oh, I max out this, I max out this, I max out this, I max out this. And we think that the only option is I have to do it all or I do none. And that's not the truth. It's little bits along the way add up over time. But when you're 25 and you're making $65,000 a year in your second job out of college, you just don't have the money to max out your 401k and HSA, his and her Roth IRAs, and put $400 a month in your kid's 529 plan and have 6 months of cash reserve. Like, you just can't do it. There's not enough money. So be okay with the fact that you just have to do a little bit. But what you're trying to do is get through the first decade of your life, of your adult life, without waking up when you're 35 going, okay, I finally make some money. I finally feel like I can save a little bit, but oh crap, I still have 80,000 of student loans, or I have 2 brand new cars with $1,000 a month payments, or I've got credit card debt from my 20s still, because that'll set you back from 35 to 45. So if you can wait on the lifestyle changes, the lifestyle increase changes, I guess, that should help you prevent the big mistake of ending your 20s with a buttload of consumer debt. And then as you transition into higher and higher incomes in your 30s and 40s, that should give you a good runway to do all those other things like save.
There is this big lie that I think people, when they first enter the workforce, think, which is just, I can be crappy with my money. All I got to do is make more money. And I know this because I was that person and I saw it all around me. I'm just going to make more money, more money, more money. Oh, gee, you and I knew a guy that we worked with who bought a super expensive brand new car just so he could scare himself into making enough money to make the payments. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He was,
it was coached.
Yeah, right.
That was like,
what's he doing now?
If you want to sell something, go make sure you got $1,000 Porsche payment next month, because you can't in the finance business. I mean, it's a little more liberal now than it used to be, but in the finance business, you can't have a ding on your credit. You will be fired. So you have to figure out a way to pay your bills, come hell or high water. So
he took on a lot of debt and loaded up his expense side, and you just can't. Making more money is not a salve if you don't solve the income or the expense side of the equation. Like, that is the lie. If I could have made $250,000 and I would have spent 300,000. I made 300,000. I would have spent 340. You know what I mean? It didn't matter how much money I made. My habits were so crappy. I was going to always outpace it. But that said, OG, I love focusing on, once you've got that lockdown on your lifestyle, do what Paula said early on, increase your income. Think about how to increase my income. And I think it's a 1-2 punch. Were you good at that early in your career, Lambo?
Yeah, growing the top line is incredibly easier than shrinking the expenses. And I'd say, I particularly moving around and getting experience, and then at some point changing companies, you have those step functions that OG was mentioning. And when your income steps up, double digits percentage wise, you have grown the gap. And I talk about the gap a lot, but growing that gap gives you the fuel to invest in rental properties, as Paula might do, or, pay down your mortgage. And when those things happen in my career, or when I got a bonus, and they weren't that big back, early in the career, but I'd take half that bonus and put it on my mortgage. And this is when rates were, double digits.
Sky high. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And I got our house payment down to $315. Our second child was born, and my wife wanted to consider staying home with the kids for a while they were young. And that would not be possible if we didn't have a gap and position ourselves so that it could be possible. And it was huge. But then, later I took a job up here. I took a pay cut. But it wasn't as significant, but your lifestyle was down here. I'm not saying ramen noodles and beans and rice. But,
sure.
I like, OG's comment there about delayed gratification. It's okay to raise your lifestyle a little bit. You don't have to forego a summer vacation with your family. I mean, take that vacation, make those memories. But every year it may not need to be to Australia or something. You just need to keep it in some kind of reasonable equilibrium. But that and time, you also mentioned automate, Paula, earlier. There are 45-year-old guys in the office next to you that are 401k millionaires. Okay. It happens. When I was working early in my career, I had a company that matched dollar for dollar to 6%. And 2% voluntary. So I put in 6%. I got 8% from the company. It was incredible. And that was my second job. I spent 12 years there. And as you might imagine, I left that place in 1999. That IRA has grown since then.
Feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
yeah,
I think that's a big piece, is that delayed gratification and keeping your lifestyle at a reasonable level when your income continues to go up. Of course, that's why I'm a fixed rate mortgage fan. In 30-year, keep the payment manageable and always pay extra. Pay off the house early. I know there's all kinds of opinions on that stuff, but you sleep well at night, and that works for us. And it gives you.
Well, I'll tell you, I love the idea, Lambo, of take the family trip, but realize it's a trade-off. Every dollar you spend on that goes someplace else. I'm going to make up this phrase on the spot, Paula, that you can afford anything, just not everything. Like I just thought of that.
Somebody
is
ought to run with
brilliant.
that. Yeah.
You should rush out to trademark that.
TM.
I probably should.
I will say this though. I took our family to London and to Paris, and by the time we made that trip, one was in high school, the other ones were in college, and you know what? I wish we would have made that trip about 8 years earlier. And so it's, I hold on to those dollars too tightly sometimes. And, my wife really gets frustrated. I doubled our travel budget this year. So we're trying to live into it.
It's now $7 that you're going to spend instead of the $3.50. Instead of headed to Buc-ee's.
Well, fortunately, I started using that new retirement application, which I will say, they don't sponsor me in any way, but I do like it because it's another data point that says you need to spend your money.
That's great. Well, and that is, I think, the other side, Paula and OG, which is, take your career seriously, but also realize that Paula, that's the fuel of life.
Yeah.
Right.
Life happens on the yellow brick road, not in Emerald City. Live on the road, baby.
Holy cow. I think that's the mic drop moment. Let's end it right there. That's a great
And scene.
That is the Lambo bringing it home. Let's before we say goodbye, let's find out what all of you guys are doing this weekend. This is the last weekend before Labor Day. OG, so are you stretching out this weekend, getting ready for the big Labor Day cookout next weekend?
I am not Labor Daying next weekend. I have a little after school activity this weekend on Saturday. Play a little golf today as soon as we hit end on this little fun excursion.
Going out in the 195-degree heat with 99% humidity.
It's okay. Well, it's not in Dallas. No, there's no humidity here. It's like Phoenix dry.
There's no humidity here.
There's not.
You don't have any humidity today?
There's
No?
never any humidity in Dallas. Yeah, no, it's dry as heck. Yeah. Well,
Doug, do you have humidity?
Surrounded by 4 of the largest freshwater bodies of water in the world? Nah, not that much.
Paula, do you have any humidity?
I'm checking the weather app right now. Let's see. The air quality is 64. UV index is 2.
I'm only doing this specifically because Doug's like moving along, so I'm going to pause here forever.
Oh.
Lambo, how's the humidity near you?
Oh, God.
We're at
48%
39%
on my weather station right out back. It's 104.4 degrees, folks.
Yeah.
The
Poking my
humidity here
ears
in New
out.
York City is 38%, and the dew point is 57.
Oh, the dew point, Doug, is
Oh,
Here in South College Station, the barometric pressure is 30.09. So
if
no
we have-
hurricanes coming.
that's
The
really
if we
hot.
have any
currently
listeners-
is in a waxing gibbous stage with 72% illumination.
I'm
If
at
we have any listeners
347
left,
feet.
it's only because they think they're going to get a prize for being the last one listening.
Did you guys
It's
know that
the
here at my
best.
house, the solar radiation is 739 W/M2s?
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's right in the sweet spot.
that's what I think. The brightness is 88,684
stop.
luxes.
Make it stop.
Wind is north-northeast.
Where'd the
With,
lumens go?
Gusts of 14 miles per hour.
It's gusty. Oh, breezy.
Paula,
This is resting Doug face. I love it. RDF.
Paula Pant. What's going on at the Afford Anything podcast?
So we are airing our interview with David Novak, who is the CEO of the parent company of Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut.
Yum Brands.
Yeah, Yum Brands, exactly. So yeah, we're airing that interview. It's a very in-depth interview about how leaders learn and lead. So yeah, so tune into the Afford Anything podcast for that. We had some episodes on negotiation, one in which we interview a guy by the name of Jeff Wetzler, who talks about mastering the art of negotiation, and another that was a solo episode with me where I talk through a lot of the structure around how to ask for a raise.
Fabulous. And that's all at the Afford Anything podcast. Or
Exactly.
Finer podcast.
Only the finest with winds northeast.
Lambo, we've been talking about this for a long time, brother, but it's about time you got here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. I hope to be back.
Absolutely. Well, what's going on at the Firelighter podcast, man?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned this author, Chris Field. And
Oh yeah, he's there by you.
he lives in my neighborhood, and he has a child that may or may not be in my son's 7th grade science class. So, but anyway, he's got a new book out, and that's something I'm reading through now to do an interview. And then got another author lined up. You know this guy.
The Purpose Code, Doc G.
Yeah, Doc G. So I've got to read through that one as well. So be tuned in and ready for those episodes when they drop.
Awesome. And that's at the Firelighter podcast, wherever finer podcasts are found.
Absolutely.
Doug, give us a weather report, man. What should we have learned on today's show?
I'm not going to say a damn thing about the weather, but here's what's stacked up on our to-do list for today. First, take some advice from OG and look for mentors who are both seasoned, like Joe, and the path you want to be on, like me. Second, don't forget what Paula said about workplace politics. There are subtle undercurrents that aren't easily seen until you know what to look for. But the big lesson, don't try to sneak one of Joe's mom's cookies. You think Stockholm Syndrome is bad? I think Texarkana Syndrome is way worse. It sort of sneaks up on you. Somebody get me out of here. Thanks to Paul Lambert for joining us today. To find out more about all the great things Paul is up to, check out his podcast, The Firelighter, or head over to his website, firelighter.com. You'll hear it wherever you're listening to us right now. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. Joe, you want me to redo that?
No, that's good. I think Paul's that good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. I didn't even realize you'd rewritten, Joe. I was just sort of saying from memory what I wrote. You know, I looked down, I'm like, uh-oh. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Thanks to Paula Pant for hanging out with us today. You'll find her fabulous podcast, Afford Anything, wherever you listen to finer podcasts. And finally, thanks also to OG for joining us. Looking for good financial planning help? Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG for his calendar.
Awesome. We did it. All right, everybody on YouTube.
That was easy.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you guys next week at this time, where Jesse Kramer's going to join us. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Okay, that is off, and let's...
Doug's like, see you later.